Hey, so I apologize for my hair and the general roughness of this video. What it is that we've received an email asking how to do a particular thing in Captivate with CpExtra, and we've got about 20 minutes before we've got to go to dinner somewhere, and I'm not going to have time to answer the email during this weekend. So there will be planes flying up overhead, and we're not going to do much editing, but at least hopefully you'll get a chance to have a look at how we develop things in CpExtra, and even if possibly we don't get it right right at the beginning, you'll be able to see how we sort of debug and see what's going on. So anyway, Rod, what we are looking at is one of our CpExtra users has asked if it's possible to do this. He wants to have a play pause button showing on particular slides in the course. So it's not going to be as simple as just putting a button right at the start of the course and setting it to show for the rest of the course, and neither is it going to be as simple as just putting it on a particular master slide and using the master slide in those instances, because in that case you might only be able to show, but you can't like show and hide different objects on a master slide because they don't have item names.
Correct, yeah.
So what we're looking at here is how to set up a single object so it can show a play button and a pause button inside it using CpExtra, using states, using event listeners. So there's a number of things that are sort of going on here. And so that's why I wanted to show it in a video. So
very good. Should be interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so let's jump into Captivate and have a look. I've already set up a 1, 2, 3 slide project to simulate what it's doing here. So let's just have a look at the first slide, and I have a button for play here.
So you have to make it as a button because at the moment it's only a shape.
Yes, at the moment it is only a shape, but I am intentionally not going to make it a button.
Okay.
And we'll see why in a moment. All that I want to do at the moment is set it up so that when I click on this, it will pause. And when I click on it again, it will play.
So this is using event listeners in CpExtra?
Yes, this is using event listeners in CpExtra. So the first thing I need to do is I need to add a button to the stage. I'm going to put it over here. I will add a new advanced action for this button. I'm going to turn on conditions. Okay. I want to be able to tell the difference between when the movie is paused and when it is playing. So I'm going to need a variable for that. I will call it paused and give it a default value of false.
Can I make a suggestion that you give it a slightly more complex name?
Okay.
So because sometimes there's things called reserved keywords, and that one looks a little bit too generic, yeah. So maybe put it called CP pause, CP_pause, or something like that. Okay. Yeah, just so that it's no way that could actually be or fall foul of the reserved keywords list. Yeah.
Yes, this is something that's a problem in browsers, and for keywords that you may not even think of, keywords that may not even be in the standard yet, but they think one day may be. Okay, so we've created that variable. I'm going to add a new condition under the conditional tabs. It will be for our CP_paused variable. I'll say if it is equal to, what was it that we initially set it to?
Is it as it paused? We'll say
yes.
0. Or are you going to...
I initially typed false in there because I reckon it's a little easier to read that. CP is false equals 0.
Basically gets evaluated the same way.
It does. So if it's equal to false, so this action is going to play when we click on this button. So if CP pause is equal to false, we know the movie must be playing or paused.
Well, I would assume paused is false, so it would be playing.
Yes. So at this point, we want to pause the movie. So we will add this action for pause. And we will add another action which changes the value of CP paused. And we'll change it to true.
We give this a name, this action. It's got a name yet.
Good idea. What do you recommend?
Okay, so the basic idea what the action is performing is to pause playback, or
it's toggling between playing and pausing.
Okay, toggle pause play.
pause, play. Taking time to think through the names of your actions saves you a lot of time in the end.
Yeah, you know what they're doing. And that's one way to write it with the underscores in there, or you can use camel case. Maybe show what a camel case would look like.
For camel case, you have your first word. That's all written in lowercase.
Yeah.
Then the second word
starts with a capital letter.
Yeah, toggle, pause.
Yeah, and then the next one starts with a capital letter as well.
So any words after that will be
capitalized. Yeah.
And that's what we mean when we say camel case.
The only advantage of camel case is that it's a little shorter, but not necessarily easier to read than using the underscores, as you pointed out. Yeah.
True. So the first time this action runs, it will go to this clause here, which will pause the movie. But the second time this action runs, what's going to happen when it comes and hits this section here?
Right, so it'll see that the variable value is now set to true, which means paused is true, so it wouldn't execute this particular decision block.
Okay, so how can we get it to execute a different decision if this condition is not met?
Then you have the else down the bottom.
Okay, so we'll jump up else.
So else, it would do the opposite.
Okay.
To play.
Play, so there's one in here for play, is there?
To continue would be continue the
right, continue. Okay, that's the first one.
Yeah, continue, and then you need to change the variable value again.
Okay, typing A in order to get a sign.
Yeah.
And then type CP underscore
to find the variable.
And it will assign it to
false. Good.
Okay, so let's save that action. And I'm just going to preview here to make sure it works when we press this button. This is a very important part of testing anything, is just to make sure, constantly looking at things. Okay, let me just try that again. Okay, that's looking pretty good. One thing I should do before I forget is there's somewhere in here to stop this button pausing the slide, isn't there?
To turn off the pausing.
Options for a button. Is there any way to turn off pausing for a button?
Under the timing tab.
Right. Okay. Timing. Pause after.
So
okay.
Remove that. Just one thing here, just to explain, the reason that you're doing this with a button at the moment is because this particular button will be executing the same action, but it will be using CpExtra's event listener to do it.
Yeah.
Right, so we really won't need this button in a moment.
So, well, we won't need this button to appear visually. We can cover it up with something.
But it needs to be, the action needs to be attached to a button so that CpExtra can get a handle on it.
Yes, unfortunately, there's no other way for CpExtra to get access to advanced actions presently in Captivate.
So it might seem that this button is redundant, but it really is under the hood performing a function.
Yes.
And it could also be attached to any interactive object. It could be a click box or
text entry box,
anything interactive. It just has to be interactive. Yeah.
So for CpExtra to access this particular toggle pause play advanced action, we need to access it through the button. So that means we need to give this button a meaningful name.
Okay. Well, I name my buttons BTN, so I know it's a button.
BTN, uppercase or lowercase?
Usually lowercase and just underscore, and then a meaningful name.
Okay, let's call it toggle pause play.
So that we know it's related to the same action.
Okay. Now we need to attach this action to this shape and have that action run when this shape is clicked. Mm-hmm. To do that, we need to create a CpExtra command variable, which is called xcmnd add event listener. And we'll save that. Now, at publish time, CpExtra is going to notice the existence of this variable and add special functionality to it. If you have not had CpExtra installed on Captivate, this would be just a normal variable, but with CpExtra installed, it does special things.
So the code in CpExtra looks for these sort of things and then knows what to do with it.
Yeah, these are your handles into CpExtra's functionality.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now is go to our slide enter action. And we're going to assign xcmnd add event listener with, I'm just going to put it in that for the moment because I've forgotten to name this button something.
Okay, need to give it a meaningful name.
Okay, so I'm going to call it BTN 1 PPT, and PPT will stand for play, pause, toggle. I want to have that underscore PPT suffix present there for something I will do later.
Should it be toggle, pause, play, because that's the order that you wrote them in.
Okay, true. TPP. I'll change it to that. It's good to have help. Okay.
Nice to be able to interrupt.
Yes. Yes. Interrupt more, companion. Okay. So now we need to input some information into this XCMND add event listener. The first thing we need to do is tell it what object we want to listen to. And that is this one here, which is called BTN1TTTPP. Oh, that's a tongue twister. Okay, so I'm going to paste that item name in there. Then I'm going to put in a comma, and this tells CpExtra now we're moving on to another piece of information we need to know. The second piece of information we need to know is what event we're listening for, and that is click. So we're now told CpExtra when we click on BTN_1_TPP, we want something to happen. This is the third piece of information. What we want to happen is the action which is on the button up there. And what did we call that button?
It's toggle. Or the action on the button? Toggle, pause, play.
BTN_toggle, pause, play.
Okay, so you're giving it the name of the button, not the name of the advanced action itself.
Yep, and then we put another comma and we put in success in there.
So it's on success. Right?
So we want to tell it to find the toggle, plays, pause button and then find its success action.
And execute that.
That's the action we want to execute when we click on this object.
Right, so these are what we would call in programming terms, you call them parameters.
Yes.
That's right. So there's a function built into CpExtra that has these particular things that would look for as parameters. That bits of information that you've just put into the variable, the CpExtra variable, then become, in that event listener variable, then become parameters for the function, and that's how CpExtra knows what to do.
Okay, so we're at a point where we can test now, so I'm going to go back up to preview, HTML5 in browser. And now we're going to test this by clicking on this button. You can see we have paused. I'm going to click it again, play, click again, pause.
Right.
That's working.
Right, so we have basically a shape. It's not a button, but it's acting as if it was a button because CpExtra's event listener hears the clicks on it and executes the function.
So now how can we make it so that it also looks like a button? This is where we go into states. So you can, with CpExtra, give states special names like how you give variables special names. And this affects their functionality. Now, the simplest way you can do this is to create states with CpExtra that also happen on rollover and when you mouse down. So these can be very easy to write. All I have to do is create a new state here, and I'm going to call it X rollover. And I will give that state just a little bit of a different thing. I'll make it gray. Oh, that's maybe a bit too much. Blue. I still want to be able to read that text.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll create another one called X down. Okay, and for that one, maybe we'll go for a red just to make it very obvious what we're doing there. So we haven't clicked the users button checkbox here. We haven't added those rollover and down ones, but we've added ones with special names which CpExtra will pick up, which is whenever it sees the X underscore at the start of the name, it will assume you're trying to talk to CpExtra. So now when we go back, you can see when I roll over, oh, it jumped out a little too quickly.
On the same slide.
Yeah, so when I roll over, it's going out, and when I press down, like that. Okay. So that's not quite acting exactly how I thought it was. I might have to go back and look at the code there just to make sure that nothing a little different has crept in the latest version of Captivate. But that's interesting to know. I'll look into that later, because when I roll out of it, it should go back to the normal one.
So rollout's not working.
Yeah. Okay. I'll make a note of that. This happens sometimes. Okay. So that's still showing play though.
Yeah.
We want to add another state here which will show pause instead. So I'll just the name that we can give this is x underscore CP underscore paused. This might be where we're coming to a little bit of a problem. We put an underscore in that variable name, and CpExtra might not know what to do. It might think that, okay, CP is one variable name and paused is another variable name, so we might need to go and change the name of that variable.
The variable?
Yeah. So
put in a new variable.
Yeah, CP pause equals true
after you create it.
No, so I'm just gonna try this pause. And so basically what would happen, preview HTML browser, want to see how this works. And it might not, like I said before. It did work. It did work. Okay, it didn't
stumble over that.
No, I actually programmed for that situation. I'm very happy with myself right now. Okay.
Some things work.
Yeah, but you can see that was automatically set up. That changing of state was not done inside of advanced action. It was done automatically by CpExtra because we gave that state a specific name. But you can see when we roll over it now, it goes back to the play rollover state and a play down state. We want to still show the pause when we do that. So that can easily enough be done. We'll just go select CP pause state. Actually, we'll jump over into state view here because I want to grab X rollover and I'll duplicate this state. I am going to call this one X underscore CP underscore paused underscore true underscore rollover. And that's giving a lot of cases to say, okay, if the CP paused variable equals true and you're rolling over it, then you will show this state, which is essentially the same, but instead we're going to have the letters paused.
We need one for play as well, for the down state.
We do need one for the down state, so I'm going to go and duplicate that state as well, and I will call it, what do you think I'll call it?
X underscore CP, this will be paused, yeah, underscore true, and underscore down.
Yep. Okay, so this allows you to do something you would not normally be able to do in Captivate, where we have different states, but also different rollover and different down states.
And all without actually it being a button at all.
Yeah, it's not a button.
Yeah, and it's happening automatically simply by the naming of the state a certain way.
Yep. So let's go out and test this again. So I'm going to preview HTML5 in browser.
The normal state, if you had a paused underscore normal state, would that actually fix that where it's not coming back to the
paused underscore normal?
Well, you know how the up state is actually the normal. It's called normal. Do you need another one for that?
It shouldn't do that.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm seeing that even here it's not quite working, and maybe that's got to do with... Okay, if in that case, what I will do is I'm going to change these states, the names of these states, so that it will now be CP underscore paused underscore false rollover. And this will be X underscore down. Instead, I'll change it to CP underscore paused underscore false down. You got an email. It's probably someone asking about Captivate.
No. I can wait.
Shh, you didn't hear that.
Happens all the time.
Almost time for dinner?
Yeah, won't be long.
What are you doing?
We're recording a video for all the people out in there to show them how to do a particular thing in CpExtra. And then we're uploading it without editing out things such as this.
Yes.
She gets this all the time. Right?
Roll of the eyes.
Yeah, roll of the eyes gone.
Yeah.
That's our accountant, or as I call her, Mum.
Mum.
Okay, so yeah, initially that didn't work, and perhaps I've got to look into that. But this case does, where now I click on this, and depending on whether it's paused, so that's the paused true one, down, goes like that, play, that, down, yeah. And it works. We've got almost everything working.
Yeah.
The last part is what our customer was asking about is, okay.
Well, you originally wanted.
No, he wanted to know about how do I have these different playpool states in there as well. He wanted to know how on a later slide he could have the same functionality follow.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is first of all copy this one because it's got all the states we just created. This one doesn't. It was just a placeholder. And I'm going to paste this in here. And what I'm going to make sure of when I look up here is that the suffix, this underscore TPP, remains the same. I will change it to button 2, just because it can't be button 1, because that would be identical to 1 on slide 1.
Yep. And all objects in Captivate must have unique names.
Yes, they do, which is actually good for me and CpExtra because it likes unique names as well.
Stops things from clashing.
So now what we can tell CpExtra is, okay, this event listener that we have up here, we were asking you to look at button 1. But instead of that, all we really need you to do is look through the entire project, find anything that's got the underscore TPP thing.
So we're using @syntax.
@syntax. Well, actually, we're using something in it.
#syntax. Okay.
If we put in an @here, CpExtra would look through the whole slide.
Okay.
And find any that fit. But if we change that to a hash,
it looks through the whole project.
It looks through the whole project. So let's try this now. So all we've done is copy this shape, paste it over here. And then we've changed this to a hash. We've not added any new actions. And we've not added any new assignments. But let's go to Preview, HTML5 in browser. And we can see that's still working there.
Okay, so the next slide was blank.
Next
okay, now it comes up again for the last slide, right? And it's doing the same thing.
Yeah, the action, the behavior will follow it around the course, and you can copy this shape and paste it anywhere in the course you like, as long as it's got that underscore TPP suffix at the end. CpExtra will automatically add that behavior to it. And this could work as well. We're using a shape here. You could use a shape, an image, or any other object in order to...
Just a normal text caption even?
Text caption to have the same behavior happen to it. Is only looking at the underscore suffix at the end of it. So if all you were interested in was how to perform this behavior, that's done. I would just like to take a little bit of time at the end of the video to say we've had some people asking about where's CpExtra at. Are we supporting it anymore? And the answer is yes, we definitely are supporting it. We are keeping it up to date with versions of Captivate. So if you're coming across any issues with CpExtra, please do let us know. We are still very interested in that. In fact, if you are on version 1.4 of CpExtra, please go and update to version 1.4.1 because we have found that there have been a couple of issues that could cause Captivate to go completely widescreen with CpExtra, and version 1.4.1 has solved those issues. So definitely encourage you to upgrade to that, and I'm sorry I did not pick up that error any sooner. The question on whether or not we're going to continue developing and adding things to CpExtra, absolutely we do want to do that, but the time that we get to develop CpExtra comes when we are not working for other clients. Because we work on contractual basis, sometimes there's a gap of a couple of months where we don't have work, and that's when we can work on CpExtra. But happily for us, that's not been the case for quite a while now. So we've had good paying work, and that's why we've not been able to give as much time as we'd like to CpExtra. But definitely we have mountains of plans, and we have documents full of requests that we've got from people in the community that we're very grateful for, especially those who have been using CpExtra on a day-to-day basis and really know what things they would like to see CpExtra moving on. We're very grateful to see the feedback for that. Anything else you'd like to add, Rod?
No, I think that's been very useful looking at that, particularly about how to use event listeners. I think a lot of people probably find that a little confusing, so it's all in the documentation.
Yes.
Seeing it done the way that you've done it there, I think is very helpful.
Just to let you know, the documentation for CpExtra, you can find it by going to infosemantics.com.au and then waiting for the page to load. It would be right now that we lost an internet connection. Oh, no, we didn't. Okay. Go to Widgets, CpExtra, CpExtra Online Help. And one thing I would like to point out is on the main page of the CpExtra Help, you have a list of all the command variables, all the preference variables, and all the info variables available in CpExtra. This is useful for two things. If you don't know how to use one of these variables, you can first look at the help, and there's documentation with examples on how to use them. And the second thing is, you would probably find there are a lot of features in CpExtra that you are not aware of, and you can find a pretty good list of what those are right here. So perhaps the problem you're coming across with in Captivate, there's already a solution for it in CpExtra, and you can have a look at it. If you want to know more about these object states, I recommend going to the help topics under object states, and you will find more information about what we've been talking about adding variable conditions to states, rollover, mouse down, etc. There's a lot of information in there.
The section about adding event listeners, is that?
A section on adding event listeners, the quickest way to get to that, I think, would be to, in the index of Captivate extra variables, under command variables, there's the right one, the first one there, add event listener. Right. So if you click on that, you'll find a lot of information there, along with its sister one, remove event listener.
Yeah, cool. All right, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. And sorry for this video being unedited, but hopefully, we've had some cute interaction with each other. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
How do you stop this thing? Okay, it's got to be one of these buttons.
Not that one. It's the one on the top. No.